So one of the things we're seeing within the newer episodes of The Mandalorian is a problem that the New Republic faces. You see, the Galactic Empire's military and government apparatus in general was absolutely massive, and it led to the question, what do you do with all the former Imperial officers and officials? I figured we'd take a closer look at that today. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So, as I mentioned in several previous videos, the Galactic Empire's military is absolutely massive. I mean, it's arguably one of the largest military apparatuses in galactic history. I mean, even the wartime militaries of the Republic and the CIS couldn't really compare to the military force and number of personnel mustered by the Imperial military. So, it raises a lot of questions. Once the war is over and the Empire has capitulated, what do you do with all of those who remain? I mean, arguably, the way the Empire functioned, it's probably a sizable percentage of the population that had some role in the atrocities carried out by the Galactic Empire. Now, this isn't to suggest that, 50% of the population were uniform-wearing Imperial officers or anything like that, just that a good portion of the population was a part of that military apparatus in one way or another, either in manufacturing or actually being involved in the military or maybe in the administrative side. And it poses some interesting questions because, as many of us know, during the reign of the Empire, the Imperial government was responsible for some pretty terrible things. So, what do you do with this kind of ocean of war criminals following the end of the war? Well, in some of the more recent episodes of The Mandalorian, we kind of get a look at the New Republic's solution to this, and it seems to be rehabilitate. After all, it wouldn't make sense to lock, millions of people up for their involvement with the Galactic Empire. Obviously, those who had more active roles or tried to maintain the fight following the end of the Battle of Jakku would be detained, but those who had shown a level of remorse and maybe weren't quite as directly tied to the atrocities committed by the Empire were put into a rehabilitation program. This program would help them reintegrate with society and shift sides over to the New Republic. Ultimately, while this was likely a very expensive solution, this had a lot of advantages for the New Republic. It allowed them to hold on to a lot of the professionals and experts that the Empire had curated in their various fields, for example. One of the things that the Empire did carry out a lot of during its time in power was they carried out a lot of research, and there was a lot of research expertise tied up in the Imperial government and its military apparatus. So all of that expertise could be utilized effectively by the New Republic one way or another. The only caveat is they have to basically shift the mentality of these experts from one of serving the Empire to serving a greater purpose for the New Republic. And those that couldn't be shifted would obviously end up being detained and held in prison cells for however long they are deemed appropriate. And it's likely that a good portion of Imperial military officials that saw repercussions for the actions they carried out during the reign of the Empire ended up in this program. There was actually probably a much larger portion of the involved population that didn't see anything of it. I would imagine a good portion of the Imperial military, who were the grunts on the ground or the soldiers just kind of following orders, were likely just told you're out of a job and went back to their regular lives, or many of them probably signed up with local defense forces, became mercenaries, or went on to carry other combat-related roles across the galaxy. The only ones that would have actually seen repercussions were the ones that were higher up. Once again, this is a numbers game. If you were looking at a smaller faction, you could probably persecute a large portion of the military body as well, as they would have played some role in the atrocities carried out. But with something as large as the Galactic Empire, that really isn't practical, so, like I mentioned, a lot of the people who filled smaller roles in the Empire were likely just cut loose. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a New Republic organization designed to monitor these individuals to make sure they're not getting into anything nefarious, but it, was very different from detaining them and locking them up. That brings you to the ones that actually did get locked up. These would be high-ranking Imperial officers. We're talking government officials that were within the inner circle of Palpatine, and Imperial officers and entities who went on to be warlords and carry out campaigns against the New Republic. They are the ones that actually end up in prisons, and the ones that masterminded some of these atrocities carried out by the Empire during its time in power. Now, it's likely that this group is the minority in the grand scheme of things. These would just be the worst of the worst, and those that were really deemed unsafe to have out in public. Those that posed a threat to the New Republic, for example, or those that were just so heinous in their actions under the Empire that they couldn't reasonably be left to roam among the general population. And I'm sure there were other options as well. There probably were a handful of Imperial officers who ended up transitioning pretty seamlessly into the New Republic Navy, albeit I could understand that that would make some New Republic Navy officials maybe a little cautious around them. But still, I could see that transition being possible, especially for those that, once again, didn't play a direct role in the events carried out by the Empire that would be seen as less acceptable. But all in all, it's just one of the aspects of the transition from the Age of the Empire to the post-imperial galaxy. And a big part of that transition were things like Imperial warlords, and there's a lot of questions about Imperial warlords right now, and if you'd like to sort of discuss one of the big ones, a source of a mysterious number of TIE fighters, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments whether you think the New Republic can actually handle the strain of managing all these ex-Imperials coming in, wherever they're ending up. Do you think it makes sense for a new government like the New Republic to take on a task like this, or do you think they should have been handling it some other way? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, you can leave that down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.